cooking in the kitchen of love.
Well, hello and good morning everybody from Accra. Today I'm going to be preparing a pork fillet from our regular meat supplier Butcher Boys for our Sunday lunch. Now, pork fillet is a wonderful lean cut of meat. It's very soft and it's very little fat on it, so it's very good for you. But the challenge with any meat like that is how do you keep it from drying out? How do you keep it moist? And how do you infuse it with interesting flavors? So what I'm planning to do today is take our loin. I'm going to stuff it with a mushroom stuffing in the middle. I'm then going to put a mustard and maple syrup glaze, and then finally I'm going to wrap it in some dried ham, and then I'm going to bake it in a sauce or a gravy in the oven, so that we get a mix of flavors all being absorbed into the meat. So what do we need for that? Well, obviously the pork loin, we have that already. That's ready to go. The next up is our holy trinity of onion, carrots and celery, which I've already chopped up. So I'm going to start off by frying these gently in some olive oil for about 15 minutes. And then I'm going to add a clove of garlic to that mix and carry on frying for another 5 minutes or so. So that'll be the basis for our gravy or our sauce, which we're going to cook the meat in. So that goes into a pan. Into that we're going to add a little bit of shredded cabbage, which I've already cut, an apple cut up into small pieces and add into the sauce, some tomato puree, if I can get any more out of this tube. It's almost empty, but a squeeze of tomato puree, a chicken stock cube, some mixed herbs, a spoon of those, a spoon of paprika, some ground cinnamon, some ginger, dash of Worcester sauce, salt and pepper, obviously, a glass of white wine, and then ideally, if I had it, I'd put in a shot of Calvados, which is the French apple spirit, but I don't have any. But I've got some Albanian raki, which will do just as well. So a little shot of that into the mix. Put that in a pan and cook it down for about 30 minutes, so that all the flavors infuse. Some of the water boils off and the sauce thickens up a little bit. And in about 30 minutes, it should look like this. So now I'm going to prepare the meat, and I'm going to do that simply by cutting it along here, and not all the way through, but cutting it so that I can open it up like a book or a butterfly. Season it with some salt and pepper, and then just put that to one side while we make our mushroom stuffing. Now for the mushroom stuffing, I'm going to use some fresh mushrooms, some dried porcini mushrooms, just a few of those because they're very strong flavour, small amount of breadcrumbs, some oregano and some rosemary, and a little bit of salt and pepper. Basically just chop the mushrooms up very small, fry them in a pan, add the breadcrumbs, add the cut up porcini, add a teaspoon each of the two herbs, and then the porcini you need to soak in water for half an hour or so before it's ready. So once you take the porcini out of the water, keep the water, because what I'm then going to do is just add a spoonful or 2 spoonfuls of the water which the mushrooms were soaking in to bind everything together. And at the end of that, we should have a bowl of very moist and very tasty mushroom stuffing, which should look something like this. Okay, so the next step is to prepare the baste to go around the outside of the pork fillet, and that really is very, very simple. Just a tablespoonful of mustard. You can use almost any mustard that you fancy. I'm using some Dijon mustard for this, and half a tablespoonful of maple syrup, or you can use honey or another kind of syrup, but 2 portions of mustard to 1 portion of syrup is the proportion. Mix that together and then just spread that all over the pork loin on the outside. And then the final step is to take some of this dried ham, thin air-dried ham, jamón serrano, this one is, and wrap that around the outside of the basted pork fillet. You probably need about 3 slices of the ham to do that. And then once you've folded the ham over the fillet, then you need some string, butcher string if you have it, but normal string is fine, and just tie probably in 3 places in the middle of each slice of ham. Just tie it up into a bow or knot to make sure that the ham stays on the outside of the joint while it's cooking. Then we put our fillet into a frying pan and fry it for about 10 minutes, rolling it over so that it browns a little on all sides. And then once you've done that, then you pop it into the dish with all the other sauce ingredients and cover it with aluminium foil and leave it to cook for around 30 minutes. Pork fillet doesn't take very long, about 30 minutes should be fine. And then basically your dish is done. Okay, and here's the finished result. Looks good enough to eat. And we'll have that with a glass of Pico Andino Sauvignon Blanc. Cheers to all.
Cooking, cooking, cooking in the kitchen of love.